Hello everyone. Welcome to our YouTube page, to this YouTube video. I am here, Dr. Ekta Jain CT, on behalf of Sriram's IAS, and we will be taking you through the journey of sociology optional in these videos. And these are going to be small videos, and through them, the idea is to give you a glimpse of what the entire course is about. क्योंकि छोटे वीडियोस हैं तो इनमें हम कोई भी टॉपिक बहुत डिटेल में नहीं डिस्कस कर पाएंगे, बट डेफिनेटली इट गिव यू अ ब्रीफ, इट विल गिव यू एन आइडिया. ऑल्सो इट विल टेल you what we are actually going to do in the course. The courses are beginning for sociology optional from 15th April. We'll be sharing the links soon. We'll post them here as soon as they are ready for all of you. And I'm here on behalf of Sriram's IAS. The name itself resonates with exemplary performance since a really long time. They've been in this field for now more than 35 years. And the aim through these digital mediums and through the digital courses and these videos is to reach to a wider audience and to give access to everyone, to guide you all in this process. So hopefully you all will be taking the benefits and making the most of it. So in this video today, I will discuss a little about the entire scope of the discipline of sociology. The scope of sociology, what can be done of sociology, how it has emerged, how it has changed over time. We'll be looking at all of this. And before that, let me just share my screen with you all. Yes, I think my screen is visible. So here you are seeing, this is basically the faculty at Sriram's IAS, and as you can see, there's a devoted team of faculty for each subject, for each paper. I in particular would be taking up sociology, and here Dr. Ekta Jain City, I'll be taking up sociology. And so why Sriram's IAS? This is of benefit to all of you because you'll be getting a good course material. The idea is to impart this knowledge in as lucid language as possible, to make it comprehensible for you, and to pave the way of how do you prepare for these exams in terms of not only studying and understanding but also writing. So all of these facets will be covered by all the educators in their respective courses. So as you can see here, so this is basically the course one on general studies and foundation, general studies foundation course. Then as you have, the timings have been mentioned. Then you have the crash course in current affairs, GS, CSAT. They are starting, they've started, and these are the timings. And here you have the optionals in geography, history, economics, sociology, public ad, and political science and international relations. Now, I would be taking the course of sociology here, and the timings are from 2 to 5 p.m. The timings would be 2 to 5 p.m. This is important. Again, there's something else which I would like to show you because it will be of interest to all of you. So here you can see there's a the idea is to help you save on your money, save on your energy, save on your intelligence and time, for which these courses have been created. So there's a flat 20% off on the subscriptions for all the students out there. And here you have the foundation batch for UPSC CSE, and this is going to be starting from 13th April. In the language, the medium of language is going to be English. And why many questions would be that why Sriram's IAS? So these are only a few names which you can see on your screen. So there have been a number of people who are doing amazingly well, who have studied here, and they have done great in their fields. So it's a few, the results of 2022 is what you are seeing. So with all of this, basically, we've designed these courses. And again, now coming basically to sociology optional. I am Dr. Ekta Jain Sethi. I'll be taking these optional classes. As I told you, they are beginning from 15th April, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. We will post the links as soon as they are ready. So don't worry about it. बहुत क्वेश्चंस होते हैं कि हम सोशोलॉजी के नहीं हैं, हमें सोशोलॉजी का एस भी नहीं पता, क्या हम ये कर पाएंगे, इज इट मेड फॉर अस, क्या हम अपना टाइम डिवाइड कर पाएंगे, किस क्वेश्चन में कितना लिखना चाहिए, किस टॉपिक पे कितना ध्यान देना चाहिए, किस बुक को बाइबल ऑफ द सब्जेक्ट मान के पढ़ लेना चाहिए या नहीं पढ़ना चाहिए. So these are all the queries, these are all the questions which I'm sure all students have. I've personally gone through these phases, so I know because I've worked with students, I've been a part of academics for a long, long time now. So I'm a gold medalist in the paper of sociology, and I pursued it in my college in BA honors from LSR, then my PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru University. I've taught at LSR, I've taught at JNU, I've taught at other institutes, and I've been working with students for now more than 8 years. I've been involved in building up courses of sociology. So the idea would be to make the course as easy, as lucid, as comprehensible as possible for each one of you. We will be taking question banks. We'll be discussing questions in each class. Not in these videos because these are shorter videos. In our proper course classes, the aim would be to discuss questions. बिकॉज कई बार होता है हमें समझ आ गया कॉन्सेप्ट, हमने पूरा कॉन्सेप्ट इलेबोरेट करके अंडरस्टैंड कर लिया है, स्टडी कर लिया है, पर जब लिखने की बारी आती है, जब उस अंडरस्टैंडिंग को वर्ड्स में ढालने की बारी आती है, तो एट दैट टाइम सबका all our problems come to surface. Okay, so we would be dealing with these problems. So as you can see, I'm a part of Sriram's IAS, and I'll be taking your course on sociology optional from 15th April 2 to 5 p.m. So now these are some of the things which I think you can all see in my other videos. So there is this entire course structure, and we will be referring to certain books. I have discussed these reference books also in some other videos. You all know about Haralambus. I've talked about Ritzer, which is very good, particularly good for thinkers. So we've discussed that. In terms of Indian society, that is paper 2. Again, it's a very important paper, and we've discussed that how we would be connecting it with current affairs, and we'll be taking each topic, and इसको जीएस से कंफ्यूज करने की गलती ना करें. मोस्ट कई बार ऐसा होगा, whatever you read here, it will be of help in GS. Whatever you do in GS, it will be of help here also. But they are both very different. You have to prepare for both of them. Of course, the courses are made in such a manner, your educators will be there for you to help you understand how much to prepare from where, so that you save on your time, so that you save on your energy. Okay. So as I told you, like, you don't have to learn the entire Ritzer, you don't have to read it word by word, page by page. None of the books for that matter you have to read page by page, guys. ठीक है, आपको बताया जाता है, आपको समझाया जाता है कि कौन सा टॉपिक कहाँ से लें, कहाँ से पढ़ें, and आपकी class notes are of course the most important. This is something I always maintain, that your class notes will always be very important, because these are written by you, these are understood by you. The questions also I would want you to note them down, and that's why उनका जो recall value होता है, जो memory value होता है, that is always very high. So now basically we talked about how a little bit about what sociology is. We talked about the emergence of sociology, so in some other video, and this video per se is more about the scope of sociology. However, without discussing a little about the emergence, it would be wrong to come directly to the scope. Connect nahi rahega. So I think I will deal with both these things here. So we've discussed it earlier, but again, when did sociology emerge? What do you think? What led to the idea of sociology? Now, we've done this earlier. So sociology emerged in the 19th century, in the late 19th century in Europe, and it was a result of a lot of factors. So at that time, Europe, in the earlier time, it was going through a really dark phase. Okay, there were a lot of problems there. There were issues of there was religious orthodoxy, there was mindless warfare, there was feudal system, public welfare was not taken care of. So this was a period of dark ages. This was a period of dark ages in context of Europe. जब कभी भी ऐसा होता है, इतना डिससेटिस्फैक्शन हो जाता है, इतना प्रॉब्लम होता है, तो उसके बाद ऑफ कोर्स देयर इज अ सर्टेन रेजिस्टेंस, देयर इज अ सर्टेन reawakening which happens. And this reawakening also happened in Europe in form of Renaissance. So Renaissance is literally, it means reawaken. Renaissance literally means to reawaken, and that is what happened at that time. That there was a reawakening, there was a dissatisfaction, and this was marked by the age of enlightenment. This was marked by an age of enlightenment. Okay, so there you have these revolutions which went on. So you had the industrial revolution, you had the scientific revolution, you had the intellectual revolution. Okay, what do we mean by these? So because reawakening, what there was a reawakening, there was a challenge to the existing orthodoxy, a challenge to the existing society, and through those challenges, new things came into society. New way of living came into society. There was a change, there was a overhaul, and this overhaul is called Renaissance. This is called reawakening. This happened in the forms of like there's factory mode of production which came up, like factory mode of production came up, newer scientific progress happened. There was emphasis on logic, there was emphasis on inquiry. जो साइंस इतना टाइम से एकदम stuck था, there was a sudden reawakening in that. New thinkers came in, so you had people like even in terms of sociologists, if you see people like Saint Simon, you have people like Auguste Comte, you have Hobbes. Not only sociologists, I'm telling you thinkers in general. You have Hobbes, you have Locke, you have Rousseau. So all these thinkers came at that time. So there was an intellectual reawakening also. So a lot of good changes, a lot of new things happen. Now, whenever these new things happen, there's also a change in society. So there was a change at the political level. There was an orientation towards democracy. There was a change at the social level. An entirely new middle class had come up. The entire social structure changed. A new middle class came up. Earlier, there were just the upper classes and the lower classes. So with the factory mode of production, these new people came in. Okay, there was a change in the economic structure. With the factory mode of production, again, there were better wages, better work. There was more work. People started moving from the rural to the urban. From there was more slums came in, more slums happened. इतने जब सप्लाई बढ़ गया लेबर का, तो डिमांड कम होने लग गई लेबर की. So there were less wages. So there were problems happening at every sphere. Now these are what we understand as the micro issues. So macro, we got it, that new mode of production happened, progress happened, scientific inquiry happened, new thinkers came in, all of that happened, all of the visible changes happened. Along with those visible changes, certain other things also took place. So there was a sudden democracy in France. Now France was never this open. So suddenly it was the doors to democracy were open. It was suddenly left in, basically it was suddenly left in chaos. It did not know how to deal with it. It didn't understand that how to manage this new setup. So it was a lot in chaos. Then, as I told you earlier, new middle class came up. So the disciplines at that time, the thinkers at that time, they were not sure how to deal with this new middle class. They had never studied this new middle class. So how do you deal with them, right? So their aspirations, their ideas, their choices, their way of living, none of it could be understood by them. Then, as it said earlier, there were lower wages. The wages changed, the living conditions changed, there were unhygienic conditions because they were all living in slums. The families started breaking up because आप जब एक रूरल से या एक दूसरे एरिया से एक दूसरे जगह जा रहे हैं for work, you can't take your entire family and move. So families started breaking up, because of which higher rates of like domestic violence happened, crimes increased. So all these things started happening. Also, by then we see, because of the intellectual revolution, we also understand that by then there was enough history and available new methods. There was enough history available, right? So it was realized that with that data, with all that was happening, you need something which can answer all of these, which can answer these changes. Okay? And that is how the need of a new discipline in the form of sociology was felt. That is how sociology actually emerged. Okay? Now, when we talk about when with the emergence of sociology, how sociology emerged till today, if you see, sociology is relatively a very new discipline. If you're talking about social sciences, sociology is comparatively a very young discipline. Okay, it is very new. Yet the scope has widened, and it has widened like how? When it was initiated, when it emerged, when it was envisioned as a discipline with different periods, with different epochs, until today, when we see sociology as a discipline, it has undergone tremendous transformation. Okay, and now we will look at it. So we know that it always had a wide scope because you are dealing with human beings, you're dealing with societies, you're dealing with social relations. Social relations are one thing which are always dynamic, they are always present. So the scope will always be there. So it always had a wide scope. Also, it was called the Queen of Sciences. This I've told you in some other video also, that it is called the Queen of Sciences, very interestingly, because it can get attached to all the social sciences. So we've seen the relationship of sociology with history, with economics, with political science, with psychology, with anthropology, in fact, I've even discussed a little about criminology, ethics. So we've seen the relationship of sociology with most other social sciences, and sociology works amazingly well with most of them. So its scope is quite wide in that context. It deals with a number of issues. So it deals with individual issues. When you're talking of sociology, you are talking about the individual, you're talking about the national issues, as well as you're talking about the international issues. So it has a wide scope, right? It has a wide horizon to look at. Okay. Now, when we see, if we have to understand the emergence of sociology, you have to understand that sociology emerged at a time when all the revolutions happened, and during that time, the religious orthodoxy and everything was being questioned, right? So, the existence of natural science was highly regarded. The existence of natural science was highly regarded. So at that time when sociology emerged, its founder, Auguste Comte is also called the father of sociology because he termed the term sociology. So be it Auguste Comte, be it Saint Simon, be it Herbert Spencer, be it Herbert Spencer, all of them tried to put sociology close to natural sciences. They said that sociology has to have a close affinity with natural sciences. Why? Because natural sciences were highly regarded. तो ये एक नई चीज जा रही है to gain acceptance, to gain legitimacy. It would want to be closer to natural sciences, right? So there was an entire period. So Auguste Comte, in fact, came up with the idea of evolutionary stages evolutionary stages of society. So he talked about the theological stage, the metaphysical stage, and the positivist stage. Theological, metaphysical, positivist. He says that society moves in an evolutionary fashion. So it is a very scientific approach. Okay, it is a very scientific approach. He talked about these things in his books also. He talked about the idea of sociology being close to science in two of his very prominent works, and that is Course of Positive Philosophy and Systems of Positive Politics. Course of Positive Philosophy, Systems of Positive Politics. In both of them, Auguste Comte says that how sociology is close to science, and he talks about evolutionary stages of society. Similarly, he talked about social statics and social dynamics. So he called sociology social physics. तो फिजिक्स का नाम आते ही तो भाई हो ही गया है ना. So he talked about in social physics there is social statics. By social statics we mean systems like family, marriage, educational system, etc. Social dynamics. Now statics is something which is always present. Dynamic is something which is changing continuously. So he talked about this. So we've seen Auguste Comte giving his idea. We see Saint Simon giving his idea in terms of, in fact, Spencer also compares society to an organism. Okay, so he says like organism has organs. Organs are made of tissues. Tissues are made of cells. Similarly, if you're talking about society, society is made up of systems. So you have different systems, like you have the family as a system, you'll have marriage as a system, you'll have kinship as a system, and these systems are made up of different groups. These systems are made up of different groups. These groups are finally made of the individual. Okay, so वहाँ पे cells है, यहाँ पे individual है. So you have this organismic analogy by Herbert Spencer. Okay, so this was also a very scientific way of looking at it. So we've seen during this time, this is the first phase of sociology. This can be understood as the first phase of sociology, during which sociology was considered to be very close to science. Now in the second phase, gradually this was questioned. Gradually this was questioned. So it was around 1880s and 1940s that we see this questioning happening by people like Weber, Durkheim. So even though they were questioning the evolutionary way of thinking or considering sociology exactly to be science, yet they are also very different. Okay, Weber's approach is the formal school of sociology, while Durkheim's approach is the synthetic school of sociology. Okay, this is a macro way of looking at things, while this is a micro way of looking at things. Okay, so Weber, in fact, again, Weber's really important work is you have Durkheim's really important works like Rules of Sociological Method, and Weber's really important work like Methods of Social Sciences. So both of them talked about sociology in respectively in their own way, but both of them again tried to talk from their own perspective. Weber only talked from the micro perspective. He said that sociology is the study of social action by the individual and thereby arrive at an explanation by cause and effect relationship. Okay, so it's a micro approach. Weber, on the other hand, said that no, it's not about the individual, the society is supreme. So this was a macro approach, but they did not take each other into account. Okay, so in answer to this, the next phase began after 1940s, in which we see convergence happening. During this time, we see convergence happening. So you have people like Parsons, who combine both micro-macro approach. You have people like Karl Popper. You have people like Karl Popper, who combine the inductive-deductive approach. You have people like C. Wright Mills. You have people like C. Wright Mills, who combined humanistic scientific approach. So this is the, in a way, the third beginnings of sociology, in which there was convergence of approaches. Okay, convergence of approaches. So you, as I mentioned, as I just told you, you have people like Parsons, Alcott Parsons, who combined micro macro, Karl Popper, who combined inductive deductive. You have people like C. Wright Mills, who combined scientific humanistic approaches. And then you have people like Merton, who talked about Robert K. Merton, who talked about middle range theories. So this was a phase of mixing. So it was a more concrete, it was a more fruitful, it was a more holistic phase of sociology. It was a very fruitful phase for sociology, because you are seeing that they are trying to make use of each other and coming out with the best. And then finally you have the last phase. So there, for example, new branches of sociology came up. New branches also came up. So there was a lot of overlap. There was a lot of new disciplines, new understanding. For example, sociology of health. This was never existing earlier. Sociology of aging. Okay, sociology of health, sociology of aging, criminal sociology. So new facets of sociology came up, because, and this could only happen because of the third phase, right? Because the third phase is very important. You have such new ideas emerging at that time, mixing happening at that time. So in the last phase, you have people like Levi-Strauss. Levi-Strauss talked about structuralism. Then you have ethnomethodology, like new perspectives came in. You have perspectives like ethnomethodology. You have Levi-Strauss structuralism. Okay. Then you have um symbolic interactionism. Now, all these ideas, all these theories are very new theories, and that's why they could be used in newer aspects of society. Like you could talk about sociology of health, you could talk about sociology of aging, you could talk about criminal sociology, could talk about sociology of public work. So you could talk about newer aspects of sociology, right? So we get it that how the scope of sociology we are seeing with time changed. So initially it was considered to be close to science. It was considered to be completely objective. Now these are terms like objectivity. Remember, it's a term. It's an entire subtopic in sociology which we take up later. So as and when we are doing this, there are a lot of subtopics also which are coming. All these approaches which you heard today, like you heard about Comte, you heard about Spencer, you heard about Weber, Durkheim, you heard about their works, rules of sociological method and the method of social science, method of sciences. You heard about Merton, you heard about ethnomethodology, structuralism, you heard about middle range theories. So all of these are subtopics. They will be taken up one by one, and they'll be taken up properly in the course, which is beginning from 15th April, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. We'll also have doubt solving classes, a kind of a course outline class, kind of an introduction. It is basically about the structure and the outline of sociology optional. This is class on 15th April and 16th April, 15th April for paper 1, 16th April for paper 2. So these are 1 hour classes in which I'll be telling you how we would be going about the entire course, how we'll be handling the course outline. We'll talk about how do I expect you to divide your time, how do I expect you to read, how do we go about problem solving, how do we go about reading, how do we go about understanding, how do we go about writing. So these are certain things which we'll be taking up on 15th April and 16th April as introductory classes for sociology optional, and the batch is actually beginning from 15th April. Okay, so all of these are subtopics. Whatever you do in your first unit, all these things will keep coming again and again. Okay, so you see that how it started as being close to science. Then there were people who questioned this obsession with science, though they were also not completely refined because they did not make use of each other. So there was Weber, Durkheim, there was his formal school, his synthetic school, his micro approach, his macro approach, his emphasis on individual, his emphasis on society. So you hear you read about his emphasis on society in suicide, in religious methods, in his theory on religion. You see it everywhere, and same goes for Weber. Weber talks about the individual in social action, ideal type, authority, everywhere. So they were both very different. So next, in the next stage, you see a convergence. So you have Parsons, you have Popper, you have C. Wright Mills, you have Robert K. Merton, all of them making use of all the things together. Okay, so that happened, and gradually we come to the current phase, which is basically you can say post 1990s, where you see that sociology actually diversified with the help of newer approaches. With the help of the third phase, sociology diversified and gradually new fields of study came in. So you have something like sociology of health, you have something like sociology of aging, you have several new aspects of sociology which have come in now. So with this, in this video, I think I'll stop here. And again, the basic idea was to just introduce you, just throw you open to the world of sociology, to tell you कि अरे इस discipline का बहुत scope है, बहुत scope रहा है. And I've told you that when are the courses beginning from. I've told you about Sriram's IAS and the different courses they are coming up with. And we will keep posting the links for all of you, and please go through them. And in case you have any doubts, you have any questions, feel free to comment, feel free to like, and we'll meet soon later. So thank you everyone. Have a good day. Thank you. Have a good day, and keep checking the comment section for the newer links which will be posted soon. Thank you.